We have a few different ways to create a stream. We can create a stream from a collection, from an array, from an arbitrary number of objects. We can also generate infinite and finite streams. Let me show you. So this collection interface that we have in Java, let's say collection of integer. This collection has the stream method that you saw in the last video. That means every class that implements the collection interface has the ability to return a stream. So we can create an array list, and call list.stream to get a stream from this array list. Okay. Now, what if you have an array? Let's create an integer array called numbers and initialize it to 1, 2, and 3. Now, arrays don't have the stream method, but we have the arrays class. This is a utility class declared in the java.util package. Here we have a static method called stream. We can pass our array here, and this will return a stream. Now, every stream has this method for each. With this, we can iterate over the stream and get each object. So look at the parameter of this method. We should pass an int consumer here. This is a primitive specialization of the consumer interface that we talked about in the last section. So the consumer interface represents an operation that takes an object and doesn't return a value. It basically consumes that object. The int consumer represents an operation or a method that takes a primitive integer. So here we can say n, that's a primitive integer, goes to print n. Now, when we run, we get 1, 2, and 3. We can also create a stream from an arbitrary number of objects. So the stream method has a static factory method called of. Here we have a varargs parameter, so we can pass as many arguments as we want. We can also generate infinite streams. There are actually two ways to do that. We can use stream.generate. Now look at the parameter of this method. Here we should pass a supplier. That is an operation that supplies or returns a value. So we can return math.random, and this would generate an infinite stream of random numbers. This is not something that we can do with collections, because if we want to store an infinite number of objects in a collection, we're going to run out of memory. But with streams, this function is going to get called every time we read a number from this stream. So these numbers are not going to get generated ahead of time. This is what we call lazy evaluation. So if I create this stream and store it over here and then run our program, nothing happens. No number is generated. We haven't consumed anything. We don't have infinite numbers in the memory. However, if we call stream.forEach and then pass a consumer here, let's say n goes to print n. Now, this forEach method is going to continuously request a new number from this stream and then print it. So when we run our program, you can see an infinite number of random numbers generated. Now, let's stop this. To prevent this, we can use the limit method. So before calling the forEach method, we call limit and then pass a maximum size, let's say 3. Now, when we run our program, we only see 3 random numbers. So this is how we work with streams. We start off by creating a stream, then we apply one or more transformations on that stream, and finally we call an operation that actually terminates that stream. So the forEach method here terminates this string, okay? Now we have another method for generating infinite or finite streams, and that is the iterate method. Let me show you. So stream.iterate. Now, this method has 2 parameters. First, we need to pass a seed or an initial value, let's say 1, and then we pass a unary operator that would modify this value. So a unary operator is a function that takes a value and returns a new value. So we can say n goes to n plus 1. So we're starting with 1, and then every time we need to generate a value, we add 1 to the previous value. So once again, this will generate an infinite stream. We can apply a limit, let's say only 10 numbers. And then for each, we're going to print that number on the terminal. Take a look. So we get the numbers 1 to 10.